On June 6, 1944, a little more than 78 years ago, over 160,000 Allied troops were sent across the English Channel onto the beaches of Normandy, France. The ensuing operation, Operation Overlord, known in the US as D-Day, was the first of many in the fight to liberate Western Europe from Hitler's grasp. After 78 years, the largest amphibious operation in history has become saturated with numerous tales of valor and lore, but not all of them are true. Today, we are breaking down fact from fiction, myth from verity. First up, myth number 1. D-Day was a predominantly American effort. A lot of Americans think of Normandy invasion as largely an American endeavor. An American, Dwight D. Eisenhower, was in charge, and a lot of heavy casualties were suffered by the US troops. But while 73,000 Americans were involved in Operation Overlord, some 83,115 British and Canadian troops also took part. 61,715 of them were British. Of the 1,213 warships involved, just 200 were American and 892 were British. And of the 4,126 landing craft involved, 805 were American and 3,261 were British. Indeed, 31% of all US supplies used during D-Day came directly from Britain, while 2/3 of the 12,000 aircraft involved were also British. So while it looms large in the American mind that D-Day was an American battle, in fact, we were just part of it. Myth number 2, the Germans were better trained than Allied soldiers. Were the Germans a better trained force than the American troops? At the start of the war, sure, but by 1944, not so much. According to historian James Holland, there were few exceptions, such as the Panzer-Lehr, for example. But for the most part, German units were certainly not as well trained as the Allies. By June 6, 1944, there were some Allied units that had been training for 4 years to fight in the European theater, whereas many German troops had had little more than a few weeks prep before heading to the front. The Kampfgruppen, or battle groups, which were ad hoc units traditionally seen to showcase their tactical flexibility, were actually born of extreme shortages and desperation towards the end of the war. And let's not forget the Eastern European conscripts that were forced to defend the Atlantic Wall. Myth number 3, the Allied coalition was in sync. As the US commitment to Overlord grew, so too did the British inferiority complex. After World War II ended, British Lieutenant General Frederick Morgan wrote to famed British historian Liddell Hart that the infighting between the Allies was becoming frightening. According to American historian Edward Gordon and British author David Ramsay, the clash of personalities between key military commanders hindered the optimal gains from Normandy invasion and needlessly lengthened the war. But, as British Prime Minister Winston Churchill once said, there is only one thing worse than fighting with allies, and that is fighting without them. So, while the invasion was a triumph on some level of a massive logistical and military operation, was it a perfectly coordinated machine that we all think of? The truth is a little trickier than that.